Hello everyone, welcome again to my channel. Thanks for the click. I hope you're doing well. Well, in this episode we are going to tackle a very important grammar lesson, which is the reported speech. And this lesson actually is very important for all students who have exams that involve such lesson, either university student or especially baccalaureate student or any students who have exams that involve such lesson, reported speech. So reported speech is one of the most important lessons in English grammar. Okay? I have already talked about reported speech in previous episodes. If you have not seen them, you can go to those episodes and watch them. All right. In this episode, we are going to talk about reported speech in general. So this episode is going to be general to summarize the lesson of reported speech. In other words, we are going to go through different speeches to report different speeches in this episode. So as you can see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sentences, 7 speeches. We are going to see how we can report these different speeches and what are these speeches. This is what we are going to discover later. Okay? All right. So when we talk about reported speech, the first thing that you have to keep in mind is that, especially for students who have exams, is that you are always required to change, to go from direct speech into indirect speech, or in other words, you are required to report. The verb is report. Okay? So you are required to report a certain speech, okay, a certain speech. So this is what you are required to do in exams, and this is especially for baccalaureate students. Okay, now in order to go from direct speech into indirect speech, or in order to report a certain speech, what do you have to do? So the main thing you have to do is to change. So we have to change. So we remember this. We change, and we can call it changes. So we change a lot. We change a lot of things in the sentence. So we can change, for example, we change the pronouns. This is one, the pronouns. We can also change tenses. All right, we change tenses, and when we talk about tenses, we talk about the verb. Okay, the change and the conjugation of the verb. And we can also change the time expression. We can call it the time expression. It also changes. And we can also change, for example, some modal verbs. We can call it modals, okay? And not only this, we can change other words. We can change others, or we can say other words, like for example here, there, this, and those, etc. So these are the things that we can change, all right, that we have to keep in mind. This is number 1 that you have to keep in mind for reporting a certain speech. I have a very specific episode that you can watch that has to do with changes, the changes in details, okay, in details. This is number 1. Number 2, it has to do with, and this is very important, it has to do with the time, with the speech itself, all right, the speech itself. Now, usually, so this is number 1 and this is number 2. So this is what you have to keep in mind first, and this is what you have to keep in mind number 2, the speech. And when I say the speech, I mean the type of the speech. Is it, for example, statement or question or advice or command, for example, or request, for instance? So these are the kinds of speeches. So this is what you have to keep in your mind, because the reporting, for example, advice is not like reporting statement. It's not like reporting question. It's not like reporting suggestion, etc. So this is why you have to keep in mind this, speeches, the kind of speeches. This is one thing. And another thing that you have also to keep in mind, and this is very essential too, is what we call the reporting verb. The reporting verb, which means that the verbs we use to report speeches, okay, we use to report speeches. So for example, when we have statement, sentence, normal sentence, statement, to give information, always we use the reporting verb like say in the past. So this is, I met John yesterday. What is the reported verb is said. And this is, very simply, say, infinitive of say, okay? So this is it. So this is a statement. The reporting verb is said. We say, Tom said. Here we have, you should stop smoking. Very simply, the reporting verb is advised. So this is you should, and you should is always an expression that we can use to give advice. All right, you should. So she advised, and the verb is advise. All right, advise. Okay, let's go to cinema tomorrow. This is a suggestion with the expression let's. So the verb is suggested. The reporting verb is suggested. She suggested. Okay, let's go to number 4. Could you give me your notebook, please? She asked. She asked. This is the reporting verb, and this is could you please. This is a request. This is a request, and the verb that we use with the request is most of the time ask. In the past, asked. Open the door. What is this? This is very simply older. We can say it is older. All right. It is an older. And the reporting verb is very simply oldered. We can also say oldered, or we can say tell. The past is told. Did you finish your homework? This is question. And this is a question. So this is, what kind of question is this? Very simply, it is yes. We can say it is a yes and no. So this is yes and no question, very simply, because the answer of this question can be either yes or no. And finally, what is the first mark in the class? What is the first mark in this class? So this is also a question, but it is a WH. This is a WH question. All right, WH question, and the verb here is asked. This is ask. So always the verb ask with question or want to know. So when you ask about something, when you ask a question about something, very simply, this means that you want to know about it. So this is the verb wanted to know. So as you can see, all the reporting verbs said, advised, suggested, asked, ordered, wanted to know, and asked, all of them are in the past because these speeches were said in the past, okay? In the past. All right, so that's why the verb should be in the past. All right, this is normal. So we said this one is a statement. So this is a statement, okay? Number 2, it is advice. It is advice, and it is advice very simply because we have you should. And let's go to cinema. This is, as I said, it is in a form of suggestion. All right, suggesting something. Okay, so these are all, this one we said it is a request. It is a request. Okay, so as you can see here, we have different kind of speeches. We have statement, we have advice, we have suggestion, we have request, order or command, we have a yes no question, and WH questions. So as you can see, different speeches. Now let's see how we can change or we can report these sentences or these speeches, I should say. All right, number 1. Tom said, I met John yesterday. So here what we are going to change, very simply, we are going to change I, it is a pronoun, and we are going to change met, and met is the past of meet, so this is infinitive, okay, meet with double E, sorry, meets, okay, John yesterday, and yesterday is a time expression. So we are going to change 3 things, 1, 2, 3. 1, I, very simply, Tom said, for instance, we can include that. Now here we have Tom, I, very simply, is going to be he. So we can say he. Why he? Because here we have Tom. All right? Okay. So Tom said that he, here we have met. Past simple in a reported speech, past perfect. So what is past perfect? Had met. Had met John. Had met John. John. So we need the time expression. Yesterday, we can say the day before. We can say the day before. All right, the day before or the previous day. So yesterday, the day before or the previous day. So if you want to learn the changes, you can go to the episode, the previous episode I have about the changes, all changes, pronouns, tenses, times, time expression models and other words in details. You can watch that to know the changes, okay? So here we changed I to he, because here we have Tom, met, past simple, past perfect, had met, and yesterday, the day before. Tomorrow, the following day or the day after, okay? All right, so this is it. So this is how we report statements. We include that. So that is most of the time optional. So the verb, the reporting verb is said. Tom said that he had met John yesterday. Let's go to number 2. You should stop smoking. This is advice. She advised, and when you advise, you always advise someone. Okay, you advise someone. So this means that we need an object. She advised someone. So for instance, we can say she advised her friend. She advised her friend. She advised her friend. All right, so advised her friend what? To, so we need the verb, this is the verb, to stop what? To stop smoking. To stop smoking. All right, full stop. Now here was, what do you notice? We have the reporting verb plus what? Plus object, this is object, plus to, plus verb. So this is how we report an advice or a piece of advice. Number 3, let's go to cinema tomorrow. Let's go to cinema tomorrow. She, this is, as I said before, it is suggestion. She suggested, so here we have the verb, the reporting verb. This is the reporting verb, okay? Reporting verb. She suggested, the verb suggest is most of the time plus ing form. So we can say she suggested, what is the verb? This is the verb. So we are going to take the verb here in ing form. We say going to cinema, all right? She suggested going to cinema. Then here we have tomorrow. Tomorrow is a time expression. What is tomorrow? We can say the day after. The day after, or we can also say the following day. The following day, here we have the day before, the day after, or the following day, as I said. So here we have the reporting verb, suggested, plus what? Plus ing. All right, so here, as I said, we can say the day after, or we can say the following day. All right, the following day. All right, so this is how we report suggestion, suggested, the reported verb, plus ing form of the verb. This is the verb. Okay, let's go to number 4. And number 4 is a request. It is a request. So always when you make a request, very simply, you ask someone. You ask someone, maybe your friend or someone you know, for example. Okay, all right, so she asked, we can say someone, maybe her friend, maybe him, maybe her, etc. So we can say she asked, here we have a notebook, so we can say her classmate. We can say she asked her classmate, for example, or her friend, for example. She asked her classmates what? To, here we can say to give. Look, here we have me and here we have she. So very simply, to give her. Why? Because here we have she. To give her the notebook. Okay? To give her the notebook, or to give her his notebook, or to give her his or her notebook, as I said. So in order to avoid the problem of repetition her, so very simply, to use the notebook directly like that, okay? So she asked her classmate to give her the notebook. This is straightforward. So as you can see, for reporting a request, we have the object, this is the object, plus to, plus verb, as you can see. Very simple. All right, let's go to number 5. Open the door. Open the door. He ordered. He ordered. He ordered. He ordered. For example, always a command to someone. So he ordered his brother, for example. He ordered his brother. This is the object. Someone. He ordered his brother to, we can say, to open the door. To open the door. Okay? All right. So what do you notice here? Very simply, the objects plus to plus verb. The same. Okay? Plus to plus, this is to, okay? Plus verb, which means verb in infinitive with to. So this is the same way as reporting the request and also reporting the advice. Object to plus verb. Here we have object to plus verb, and here we have object to plus verb, not like the suggestion, reporting verb plus ing, not to plus verb. And in suggestion, we don't have the object. No need for the object. Let's go to number 6, and number 6 has to do with question, and this is a yes/no question. Did you finish your homework? Did you finish your homework? So the answer can be either yes or no. All right. Usually, just remember, for reporting a question, we never keep the question form. So here we have a question form with a question mark. When we report question, it's no longer a question. This is something that you have to keep in mind. So this one is a question, but when we report it, it is not a question. It is a sentence. This is number 1. Now let's start with this one. Did you finish your homework? So here we have did you finish? Did finish. Did finish. It is in the past. So this is the past simple. Very simple to know this. Did you finish? So did finish, it is past simple. Here we have your, and here we have homework. Here we have you. All right, so she wanted to know. Usually to report yes/no question, we use if. If. She wanted to know if, here we can say, here we have you, if you, or if he, or if she. So very simply here, when you have you can use you, for example. If you, all right, if you, here we have past simple. We said in past simple, past perfect. Did finish, the verb finish in past perfect is very simply if you had finished, what? If you had finished your homework. So she wanted to know if you had finished your homework, or if we change this with he, for example, if it is he, she wanted to know if he had finished his homework, or she wanted to know if we have she here, if she had finished her homework. Okay, so this one, your, you, he, his, she, her. This is something that you have to know for the subject pronoun and the possessive adjective. Possessive adjective also change according to the subject pronouns, as I said. All right, so what you have to keep in mind. So here, she wanted to know if you had finished your homework. This is not a question. It is not a question. So when we report question, we don't keep the question form. This is what you have to remember. Another thing, for reporting question, yes/no question, if. Okay, so this is very simple to know. Let's go to number 7, and number 7, it is a WH question. It is a WH question. All right, let's see. What is the first mark in this class? Now here we have WH, and we have the verb is, and this is the verb be. This is verb be in present simple. All right, verb be in present simple. The first mark in this class, here we have this class. This also changes. So he asked, we can say he asked someone. For instance, we can say he asked student. He asked the student. The student. He asked the student what. So here we use the WH word. What? The first thing. What? Now here we have is the first mark. What is the first mark? So here we have the subject. The first mark is the subject and is. So as you can see, the verb comes before the subject. This is the subject before. Why? Because it is a question form. In a reporting, we don't keep the question form. So the verb after the subject. After the subject. So what can we say? He asked what the first. This is the subject. The first mark. The first mark. The first mark. All right. The first mark. Here we have verb be in present simple. When we report it, verb be in past simple. Present simple, past simple. So what can we say? He asked the student what the first mark was. Was in. So here we have this. In reported speech becomes that. So we can say in that class. In that class. So very simply, here we have was. This is the verb in past. Past. This is past simple. All right, past simple, because here we have verb be in present simple. Very important thing that you have to remember. Here again, we don't have the question form. It is not question form. He asked the student what the first mark was. So here we have subject, and here we have verb. Not like here. Verb, subject. Subject, verb. So we don't inverse the verb and subject in reporting question. So just keep in mind, in reporting question, we don't keep the question form. All right, we start with the WH when we have WH question. Okay, so I hope you learned something from this lesson. If you have any question or suggestion related to this, so as you can see here we have different speeches and how we can report different speeches. As you can see, statement, advice, suggestion, request, order, question, and question. Different, as I said, speeches. I hope you learned something from this episode. See you soon in another lesson. Have a good time and goodbye.